Hey everyone, so I know it's been quite a while since I made my last video, but I'm back at it and you can expect me to make videos on a more weekly basis moving forward. Since my last video, I am now more involved with Ghost Stadium and I am one of their coaches. If you haven't already, feel free to check out their Discord with lots of information regarding PvP. They also have a lot of perks with their Patreon and merchandise as well, so I'll link those down below. So for today, I'll go over the big 8-round tournament over at Richmond, Virginia that happened last weekend. There are a lot of top quality players there, so the competition was definitely really strong. So the team I decided to run with was fairly standard for the most part. I had Umbreon, Alolan, Ninetales, Bibarel, all pretty standard movesets. I was running Nidoqueen with Earthquake and Earth Power, Raichu with Brick Break and Wild Charge, and then Alolan Sandslash with Powder Snow, Ice Punch, and Bulldoze. The last two picks are slightly off meta, but I thought that it gave me some decent coverage in a lot of matchups, particularly the Skuntank matchup. So getting right into it, I'm going against Blue Chaotic in my first round. So the fun thing is I am one of the coaches ever at Ghost Stadium, and this actually is one of my clients too. So big tournament, didn't really think there were odds of me pairing up with Blue Chaotic, but here we are in the first round. So great to meet him in person and really kind of see how he's improved throughout our conversations. And so I'm going in with Umbreon, Raichu, and Alolan Sandslash in this lineup. And so this lineup is fairly good against waters, but also especially if they have a Ninetales in the back. So we're just doing Umbreon mirrors at this point too. I felt okay at this moment just because he tried to bait out Shield with Foul Play, but that didn't work so well. So I know that at the end of this, I'll definitely be at least one shield up. And so I'm just going to I decided to shield this one. And so I'm going to go with the last resort. So I think I'm just going to try win switch priority instead of finishing off with the extra shield. And you'll see right here that I'm actually running Dark Pulse on my Umbreon instead of Foul Play. Me personally, I like Dark Pulse a little bit more. The DPE is about the same as Foul Play. It just costs a little bit more energy, but does a little more damage. So unshielded, it does great. But at the same time, too, there's a lot of benefits of Foul Play because it's faster to charge. So in certain situations, you might not be able to get to a Dark Pulse, but you can get to a Foul Play when everyone's low on health. And sometimes Dark Pulse can be a little overkill at times too. So, but I felt pretty good at this point. Raichu against Vaporeon, even though Raichu's kind of glassy, it's still going to dish out quite a bit of damage. And then this is when I realized that I kind of screwed up. So he was running double water with Umbreon, and yeah, this Alolan Sandslash not going to be able to do much in this scenario. So really well played by Blue Chaotic. Even though he lost a matchup lead, it didn't really matter too. So definitely a little tricky. It could have kept it a little close, but I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get to an Ice Punch in time. And I don't even think that would have KO'd it. So going into match number 2 against Blue Chaotic. So right now I'm going to open with the Alolan Sandslash. I figure it's a better opener just because you won't get caught in a bad matchup. So right here I do run with Bulldoze, which makes the matchup a little bit closer with Alolan Ninetales. But the main reason behind that is because it gives me a better matchup against Skuntank, against Electrics like Raichu. I don't get completely walled by the waters. But there's a lot of merits to having Gyro Ball as well. So go straight for the Wild Charge. I don't want to gamble too much here, and he decides to go leave that unshielded. I don't know if he expected a Brick Break, or maybe he just assumed that it was he just wanted to sack the Vaporeon right there. So he's going to hit me with the Ice Beam. Probably a little overkill there. Side Shock would have been plenty fine, and that way he'd have a little more energy. But right here, we're going to go straight into Umbreon Mirror. So I feel pretty good about this just because I do have the Alolan Sandslash in the back. Although, like I said, doesn't have the best moves to counter Alolan Ninetales. So I know it's going to be close either way. So right here, we're just doing mirror stuff. I was trying to QSA a little bit, but it's a little bit hard sometimes because you can, trigger the charge move too early. And I think I was too behind on energy to really QSA him right away. And so we're just going to play out this mirror a little bit. I'm not sure right there if I QSA'd properly or not, but either way, I feel like I might be slightly ahead on energy after this, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah, you'll see right here, I should go for the Dark Pulse. This is one of those moments where the outplay probably would not have been enough. I tried to switch out to Alolan Sandslash because I was really worried he's going to get some more energy. But at the same time, I know that I have an extra shield, so I'm just going to let this Ice Beam go through, and then played it kind of close. I was probably like 1 charm, maybe 2 charms away from getting KO'd, but I knew that I needed to make sure I took down the Alolan Ninetales health low enough that the Ice Punch would work. So going into match number 3 with Blue Chaotic, another Umbreon Mirror, and I think I messed up a QSA right there because definitely pulled the trigger a little bit early there. And so right here I have Umbreon, Bibarel, and Alolan Ninetales. So I decided not to put the Sandslash in this one just because I don't really want to be in that scenario again where I'm locked into a water. And because he has 2 waters, that's going to be a little bit tricky too. I had a feeling that he might have been going in with the same lineup he did in the first one because it worked so well. So I was kind of anticipating 2 waters right here. So that's why I'm just going to let this Umbreon go just because I'd rather have shields on my Alolan Ninetales. So I'm definitely not shielding here. And so this way I can farm up his Umbreon a little bit. Of course, if he's running Nidoqueen here or Skuntank, that would have been trickier. But he ends up not doing that, so that's fine. And then I knew that was kind of too quick for anything besides an Aqua Tail. So right here, I'm just going to take down this Vaporeon. And at this point, I kind of know that there's no way that he has an Anti-Charmer, so I felt pretty good and figured it was probably a Bibarel in the background. In the back, just because there's really no other option at this point, unless it's a Alolan Ninetales. But with 2 shields up, that would have been fine too in that scenario for the most part. It would have been a little bit closer, I think. But I'm just going to not take any chances right here. Just going to go straight for Hyper Fangs just because, it's I don't want to play risky. Oh, actually, right here I do go for the Surf just because he was low enough. But early on I was going for the Hyper Fang in case he doesn't shield it. So great game to Blue Chaotic. Almost lost to my own client, but it means that he's really improved a lot. So going into the second round, we're going against Crimson Hawk. I am going with Alolan Ninetales, Bibarel, and Umbreon. Pretty standard meta picks. And right here, I believe I shield it. It is a Surf though, so he does get a good bait right there. So I'm a little behind here, so I'm going to go for a Surf as well, hoping he does shield, and he does. And then he's low enough at this point that I could just go straight Surf, and it should be enough to bring him pretty close. Right here, I choose not to shield, hoping it is a Surf, and it is. So I can build up a little more energy. Not the best scenario for me, because I'm not sure that I could get to another Surf, so he was able to farm me down a little bit with that Ninetales. Not great, but it is what it is. And so right here, I know that I can pretty much just charm down this Ninetales. So I'm going to save my energy and go in with whatever comes next. And oh yeah, so it was a Laron. And then so right here, I'm going to go straight for the Umbreon matchup. This is a very solid matchup for Umbreon. So I know that it's going to be enough right here. And so that is match number 1. So I was talking to Crimson Hawk as well. This actually is first tournament, so really great to see a lot of new faces. Definitely a really cool and big tournament to be the first one, just because it was the biggest ranked tournament in the U.S. I think North America too, if I'm not mistaken. Cool. So we're going in with Alolan Ninetales again with Bibarel and Umbreon in the background. I feel pretty good about this matchup just because Grass Knot's not going to do a ton of damage against Alolan Ninetales, and I really want to win this switch priority right here. He does actually shield too, which is interesting. So I'm just going to shield as well, just to ensure that I still have that switch priority. And so right here, he goes in with Nidoking. And so this is one of those moments where I realized like Nidoking probably wasn't the best pick for this cup, especially if you're running Legacy with Fury Cutter, because that Fury Cutter is not doing any damage at all really to this Alolan Ninetales. And you pretty much have to rely on charge moves, and Sludge Race is a very expensive one too. So I know that right here I'm just going to farm down that Nidoking, and then I'm going to go straight for the Hyper Fang right here. And then I'm going to probably switch to... actually, I might, yeah, so I'm going to switch straight to Umbreon after he used up that charge move. And then I didn't realize this at the time. I thought he was just baiting for shields, but he actually doesn't have a Legacy Umbreon. So that also makes all the Umbreon mirrors quite difficult, just because Umbreon's going to resist the dark damage very well, and it's already just so tanky. So if you're not running Last Resort Umbreon, it's definitely tricky to play around. It's not impossible, but I think Alolan Raticate might be a better option for that. Okay, so we're going into game number 3. And so this time I'm going with Bibarel, Alolan Ninetales, and Umbreon. So switching up the order a little bit. And I don't know if I was trying to switch or not at that moment, but I do decide to go for a Surf. He does shield it, and then we go straight in with Alolan Ninetales. And so the reason I'm going here, it's definitely a little riskier play because if he has Lairon, then I'm kind of screwed. But if he had Nidoking, I felt okay with that for the most part, just because Nidoking, like I said before, like it's not going to do any damage really from the fast moves, so I could definitely chunk down some damage right there. So here we have Alolan Ninetales, no shields. And I have a near full health Bibarel, so I know I can win this matchup with just one Surf, and I was able to get to it before he was able to get to a charge move. And then right here again, I felt pretty good because, like I said before, it's only it's a non-legacy Umbreon, so he's going to take me out right here, and I know that I pretty much have this matchup just because I have my Umbreon in the back. Even if it was legacy, this probably would definitely not be enough to overcome, just because the health disadvantage and the shield disadvantage. So I'm going to go straight for Last Resorts here, and pretty much grind out this one. So I would definitely think about if you really want to bring an Umbreon without Last Resort, because you're probably going to end up with a decent amount of mirrors. So going into round number 3 against Arrow, very top player. Right here, I actually make a mistake right away. So I go in with Alolan Ninetales, Bibarel, and Umbreon, and what I should have done is switched in Umbreon, and I was anticipating I'd actually lose switch advantage for some reason, so I was already conditioned to thinking that Bibarel's the one I want to switch into. He does also correctly shield my Hyper Fang, so that's not ideal, and right here he doesn't shield the Surf as well, so not good. And then he's going for Last Resort, and then now he's going to win switch advantage as well, so not a great setup right off the bat. Against top players like Arrow too, it's just you can't make too many mistakes because they're definitely going to punish you for it. So, and then now he has Lairon, and then this I pretty much know it's game over at this point. Even if I QSA every move right here, I'm not going to have enough to take out Lairon in the back end. He could just save his shields for it. Yeah, there's not really much I could do at this point. I think I probably will spend a shield here or there, but I know that this Umbreon mirror is just going to take me so low that it's just not going to be enough. Yeah, so we're just going to go back and forth on here. But like I said, that was a bad mistake by me. And so I do try to switch to Alolan Ninetales because I'm just trying to throw him off a little bit as much as I can. But he was quick on the switch. And now he's going to be able to farm up this Alolan Ninetales, and it's pretty much GG. Had I swapped in Umbreon, I would have won the matchup against the Vaporeon because it was a non-Hydro Pump Vaporeon, and I would have had the Bibarel in the back against the Lairon, and then I would have been able to have switch advantage, and then my Alolan Ninetales would be able to take out his Umbreon. So, bad plays by me, but Arrow capitalized very well on it. So, I'm going to go in this time around with Umbreon, Raichu, and Nidoqueen. Switch things up a little bit. So I was able to switch priority right here, which is pretty solid. So going against that Vaporeon, I know at this point too, it's not Hydro Pump, so I don't really need to shield that much, to be honest. But I believe that he wants to take this out because he kind of needs to take out this Umbreon for the back end. So I believe I push it a little bit far right here, which means that I end up having to burn a shield. I probably shouldn't have done that so another mistake right by me there because the Aqua Tail would not have been enough. Here I'm going in with Last Resort, and so you can see that my current lineup is actually kind of weak to Umbreon. So something I probably could have done instead was just go for a quick switch instead, even though I had the winning matchup, just because I knew that whatever matchup I have in the back end against Umbreon is going to be difficult. So that's kind of what I do right here at this moment in time, realizing a little bit too late. So I'm trying to build up a little extra energy, and you'll see that he switched super quickly too. And then not a great situation right here. If anyone's ever been in it, Nidoqueen walls off Raichu. Every one of Raichu's moves is resisted, and Nidoqueen could just pretty much farm down my Raichu. And so I anticipate that this could be an Earth Power, as well as having enough energy to probably do another Earth Power pretty quickly. He's up with shields, he's up on energy, and I know that's not going to be great. Even if I shield this, which I kind of realized that, like, you know, it was too late even if I did shield it. So I kind of just let that go. Probably not the best idea, but I don't think it would have mattered at this point. I knew that I lost this matchup. No matter what, low health Umbreon, low health Nidoqueen, down shields. So really well played by Arrow. Handed me my first loss of the tournament so far. And then in a 2-0 fashion. So we're going to go just play game number 3 just for fun. At this point, and this is when he revealed his kind of spicy pick. So you can see it slightly. I didn't actually realize it quick enough, but he's actually running Powder Snow on his Alolan Ninetales. Pretty interesting. I can see why he would use this as a game 3 option, either when he's already clinched the victory or just to potentially throw off his opponents right there. So that was pretty much why he probably didn't run Alolan Ninetales in the first 2 games, just to be safe. So right here, you'll see that it's kind of tricky to use just because Powder Snow is just going to not do really much damage at all to Umbreon. So that's when I realized. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to let this Umbreon go because I still have Alolan Sandslash in the back. And right here, he switches quickly to Lairon, but that's going to do quite a bit of damage with Bulldoze. And then we're going to go straight in right here. And I know I can conserve my shields because all the moves that Ninetales throws at me is going to be resisted. He chooses not to shield here just because we know that it's pretty much over. So we end up finishing the game 2 shields apiece. But yeah, great games to Arrow. Always a tough competitor and played really well. So going into round number 4, I'm going against Dark Nightmare, who I believe is a pretty top-ranked player. In the Virginia area. I feel like I've seen him in quite a bit of cup finishes for that area. I knew it's going to be a tough matchup, and I'm going in with Alolan Ninetales, Bibarel, and Umbreon. Pretty standard set right there. And I realized that he's actually running a double Charmer strategy. With Delcatty. I actually didn't really know all of Delcatty's moves at this point just because I just was not familiar, to be honest. And so I figured it was something that was going to hurt a little bit, so I do decide to shield this just because I also have an Umbreon in the back, and so I know that's not going to be a good matchup. And then right here, I feel pretty good about this at this point because even though he's up a shields, I'm going to be able to chunk away quite a bit of damage on this Umbreon, and I was able to get to a Psyshock, which he ends up shielding just because if it was an Ice Beam, that would have been over. But honestly, it still would have done quite a bit of damage. Either way, full health Umbreon versus lower health Umbreon, even though he has more health on it, it's just not going to be enough. So we'll go straight for the last resort right here, and kind of take him out. And then I just go for another last resort just to be safe. So that's match number 1 against Dark Nightmare. And then next, I'm going in with Umbreon, Nidoqueen, and Bibarel. First Suicune I'm going against for the day. I haven't had too much practice with Suicune, to be honest. I was trying to QSA right here. He goes straight for the Hydro Pump. So good on him for getting that off of me and having me do that unshielded. I still feel okay for the most part because I'm able to do quite a bit of damage with this Umbreon. And at this point, I'm not really sure if it's going to be Bubble Bee or not, but I had a feeling that he's probably going to bait out Shield. So I'm just going to just let it go and then go straight for another Dark Pulse. So I wouldn't switch advantage at least. But again, this lineup is not very good against Umbreon. So I probably should stop bringing these kind of lines just because I end up in Umbreon mirrors and I just don't know what to do at this point. I probably shouldn't even shield that because I know that my own Umbreon is debuffed at this point in time, so it's not even doing that much damage with the last resorts. He was able to farm a little bit off of me too, but I think my shield would probably be better saved for something else. I was able to get a decent amount of last resorts off, and at this point I was feeling a little bit desperate for the Umbreon matchup just because I know that it's not the best. So right here, I believe I go with Bibarel just because that water gun damage is going to be doing quite a bit, and I know that he has 2 shields too, so I pretty much need to rely on that. At this point, I believe I shield it just because I pretty much need to get rid of this Umbreon. It's just doing way too much at this point to my team. And so I go quickly into Nidoqueen, blind switch. I mean, either way, I was gonna lose this matchup anyway. So I go straight for the Earthquake just to, for some reason, catch him off guard, but there's no reason why he wouldn't have shielded that. Earth Power might have been better there, but I don't think it would have made a difference in this scenario because he was up by so much already. So great second match from Dark Nightmare right there. And then so now I'm going to go in with Alolan Ninetales, Bibarel, and Umbreon. So kind of the standard meta lineup, and it's probably standard meta for a reason because it does quite well overall. He goes straight for the Psyshock, and because of that, I'm just going to shield and then charm him down, have a sliver of health left, and go straight for the charge move. I believe I go for Ice Beam, just because I know that it's going to be pretty solid for the most part against whatever comes out. So he does choose to go in with Umbreon, which is going to definitely take quite a hit from there. And then so switches straight to Nidoqueen, and I was able to switch straight to Bibarel right after, getting some damage on. Should I have saved that energy? Maybe a little bit, but this means that I could actually water down this Nidoqueen instead of having to use a charge move. He's up 2 shields to 0, so not the best shield situation on my end to be in. We run into a little bit of lag, but unless this is last resort, I know I could get to another charge move. So, actually I couldn't just because he had enough foul plays. So this is going to be a little tricky. I think he's pretty low on energy at this point just because he just used back-to-back foul plays at Bibarel. And so he's going to go for a shield. But at this point, I feel fairly comfortable. I know he's a little bit ahead on energy, but I'm ahead on health, and the difference is going to be enough to, win it out. He's going to go for another last resort, and I'm going to wrap it up with my own last resort. So great game right there from Dark Nightmare, and that was round number 4. So at the halfway mark, big tournament, a lot of rounds. We're going against Matt Soar right now. Top player, was in the top 8 for Worlds in North America last season, and I believe he was in the top 4 actually too, in finishing in the top 8. So I knew it was going to be a tough opponent right there, and so right here he goes for Psyshock right away as well. So I do decide to shield, and this time around I go for Psyshock. I believe this video is fast forward pretty quickly, but I think I saw that it was a Bibarel, so that's why I went for Psyshock instead of Ice Beam, because Ice Beam would have definitely been resisted. So I'm going in with Alolan Ninetales, Raichu, and Bibarel. It's a little different than my usual matchups, but the only reason is because he has a very off-meta lineup. So I like to go pretty off-meta, but Matt likes to go even more off-meta than me. So definitely an interesting matchup for sure. First time playing against a number of these things, to be honest. So first time I went against a pile of swine. I knew I had enough energy on my Raichu to still take out the Bibarel, so I choose not to shield right there. And I have a feeling that I'll be fine, being able to probably Thundershock this Bibarel down. Yeah, and that was pretty much the match. So that was the first match right there, and then now we're going into the second one. I'm going in with Alolan Ninetales, Raichu, and Bibarel, so same lineup again. I know that Wild Charge is actually going to do quite a bit of damage to Ninetales, especially if he goes unshielded. And so it's going to force at least a second shield from him with this Brick Break. Brick Break is not enough to take him out right here, but it's kind of risky to not shield that at that point. At this point, I believe I'm going to go with my own Alolan Ninetales. And so I choose not to shield this, just because I know it can survive, and I want to have that shield advantage. So he goes in with Bibarel. I decide to shield this right here. Charm is going to do quite a bit of damage still to Bibarel, so I'm going to go straight for the Psyshock, and hopefully it can be enough to force at least a shield. And then so I'm going to continue to charm him down. I know he's going to hit me with a move that's going to definitely hurt quite a bit, and so Hyper Fang is going to do quite a bit of damage right there. And he has Alolan Raichu. I do have a shield though, so I'm pretty much banking on this Hyper Fang to do pretty much most of the damage right here. And so I know he can't get to another second move in time, and then I was able to Water Gun down his Alolan Raichu. So those are the first 2 matches, and we're going into match number 3. This time I do decide to go with Umbreon and then Raichu and Bibarel, so I just swapped out the Alolan Ninetales. Probably wasn't the best move, but it is what it is. So right here, I'm going to go in with some Brick Breaks. I kind of forgot that Alolan Raichu does resist Brick Break as well. I was thinking about the Minun matchup, so I am pretty much just going to let this Raichu go at this point. Although actually I didn't realize it actually just survived the Thunder Punch. So this is why I like Kanto Raichu more than Alolan Raichu in this particular meta, just because it does have pretty solid matchups against the other electrics. And so right here, I'm up. Well, actually, we're tied on shields actually. So this is a okay situation, to be honest. I do need to burn some of his shields, because if he has 2 shields up on that Alolan Ninetales into my Bibarel matchup, then I know it's going to be definitely game over. So at this point, I'm like, okay, he's up 2 shields, and he's probably just going to hold on to both for the Alolan Ninetales. So I think I pretty much made a mistake. I should have farmed a little bit more just so I could get to, well, I guess I wouldn't have gotten to a second last resort anyway. But I need to do as much as I can. So I do go for a quick switch right here, hoping to do enough damage, but he does get to that second shield and does block the surf. And at this point, I don't think I get to that second surf in time, unfortunately. Charm does quite a bit of damage. We do run into a little bit of lag right here, but it wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, and he actually had enough for a second charge move too, which is pretty wild. So yeah, this matchup, no way anything I could do to take out this Alolan Ninetales, even if I had a full last resort ready. We had some more lag right here, but we both agreed that was pretty much GG. So great games with Matt right there, and then now I'm going against round number 5 or round number 6 with CCO. One of the top players in Canada, really cool guy too, and I knew this was going to be a grind as well, just because he's a very top player. I think went 6-1 or 7-1 in Sinister Cup as well. So right here I'm going with Alolan Sandslash, Umbreon, and Alolan Ninetales. And my main fear was really his Skuntank, because I know my team's a little bit weak to it, which is why I went with Alolan Sandslash. I'm not going to shield this just because I know that it's going to be resisted pretty well. And then I'm just going to farm a little bit just because I know that I'm a little bit behind, and then go straight for the Ice Punch, enough to know that I can take it out. And so I'm going to go for the Bulldoze at this point, because it's my really only option. And then I'm trying to get to another Ice Punch, but I couldn't. And maybe that wasn't the best idea. Maybe I should just switch right away to Alolan Ninetales. I'm not sure if my switch clock wasn't up yet, but yeah. And then right here, I'm going to go straight for to try to take out this Vaporeon. But I'm trying to farm a little bit. Oh, well, no, sorry. I wasn't trying to farm. He's up 2 shields to 0. So I was just trying to charm down his Vaporeon, but that was not enough. So he ends up winning the match with 2 shields left. He's also known, at least from my practice match with him, as someone that doesn't really shield very often. So true to his nature, he doesn't shield. So going into the second matchup, I go in with Umbreon, Bibarel, and Alolan Ninetales. I think we're both trying to QSA right there, but neither of us pulled the trigger, so I finally just went for the Dark Pulse. I do double Dark Pulse in right here, and I'm not going to shield the Hyper Fang coming in. So Hyper Fang is going to do quite a bit of damage, but I feel okay for the most part in this situation. So he's going to Hyper Fang me again, and I do decide to let that go. And I think it's because I feel pretty confident about my matchups in the back end, and that he can't get to another Surf in time. And this definitely could be a bad situation if he has an anti-charmer, but he doesn't. And I also have Bibarel in the back, so I could always switch to that if that really comes to it. And if he had Umbreon, then that would have been bad. But we both run into a little bit of lag. I think we decided to just play it through. And at this point, I have a Bibarel, and then he has Vaporeon in the back. And so not the best situation for Vaporeon, and I'm up 2 shields to 0. So at this point, we're kind of in kind of traded spots at this point because he knows that he can't possibly take me down with charge moves, so he's going to try to water gun me down, and then I end up going for just a Hyper Feint just to be safe. So I end up winning match number 2 with 2 shields to 0, which is kind of an interesting role reversal. So going into match number 3 for the tiebreaker, so Alone Ninetales with Raichu and Umbreon. So I do decide to shield right here. And here's the big mistake I'm doing. So I'm thinking like he's so low on health, he's got to shield this Brick Break. And like I said before, he's known to not shield, and he chooses not to shield, right? And now here's where I made a mistake because he's not able to get to a second crunch, right? And so because of this, now I have to expend both of my shields to his, and now he's at a 2 shield advantage, even though he has, even though I have switch priority, it's not going to be enough, right? So if I go for that wild charge, there's probably a very different game. And like I said before, I have kind of a Skuntank weakness on my team, which is why if I'm not bringing Alolan Sandslash, Raichu's a okay counter to Skuntank, but I do kind of need to expend both shields to beat it straight up. And if I'm just using wild charge. And then I end up switching Umbreon into his Alolan Ninetales right there. Kind of went for a blind switch just because I don't know. Really, I really have no idea what I was thinking at that time. But I don't think it would have mattered, to be honest, because he was so ahead anyway. Yeah, so I'm able to take out his Ninetales right here, but it doesn't matter even with this matchup. I knew I was going to beat his Umbreon. Kind of weird way to end it, to be honest, right there. But yeah, great plays by CCO right there. And so now we're going into round number 7 against Call Me Jake. Most of you probably already know Call Me Jake too. Great player and content creator as well. And so I knew this was also going to be a tough matchup. Pretty much the entire bottom half of this tournament were just stacked. So I'm going into this lineup with Alolan Sandslash, Bibarel, and Raichu, I believe. Yeah, so did pretty well in that matchup. And so right here I have Raichu against Bibarel. Bibarel does quite a bit of damage to Raichu just because Raichu is such a glass cannon. But all of Raichu's moves do super effective damage to Bibarel, so I know that even if he does shield or doesn't shield, Brick Break's not really a wasted move, even if I was trying to bait. Right here's up 2 shields to 1, but at this point, I've got Bibarel against Nidoqueen, and I pretty much can just water gun it down at this point. I just wanted to use some shields just in case for some reason he does get to 2 Earth Powers. And takes out my Bibarel. So that was a good matchup for me in the back end. And so now we're going into match number 2. And I'm using Umbreon, Bibarel, and Alolan Sandslash in the back end. Decent lead for me. This definitely could be close, especially if I don't shield the right moves. So I do shield Hyper Fang. And the main reason, like I said before, is I have kind of a weakness to Umbreon if I'm not bringing Alolan Ninetales in my team. Because I do not have that Skuntank, so I don't have that positive match right there. So I have Bibarel and Alolan Sandslash in the back. So if he brings an Umbreon afterward, it's going to be definitely a tough matchup. He chooses not to shield both of them, so he goes in straight in with Nidoqueen at this point. Kind of interesting, just because it doesn't have the best matchup against Umbreon, and I knew that I was able to get to quite a bit of Dark Pulses, but he does have shields to spend, and now I have a very, very farmed up Nidoqueen to deal with. Not the best situation. Not really sure what was the best move. Maybe Bibarel would have been better. I was mostly worried about potentially Umbreon on the back. So does quite a bit of damage, but this Ice Punch is going to be hopefully enough to take it out. And I go straight in, and turns out it's actually a Lanoon. Yeah, so that is a really bad matchup against my Bibarel, and no way I could pretty much win at this point. And he's also up a shield. So good call by Call Me Jake right there, taking out that Bibarel. Also, if you haven't noticed, Call Me Jake's not even running Umbreon because he mentioned that he doesn't have Legacy. So very interesting team on his end as well. So going into the last matchup, I have Raichu, Bibarel, and Alolan Ninetales. Kind of a bunch of weird lines running from me at this point in time, but because he doesn't have Umbreon, it's just kind of tricky to figure out what the best thing to run is. I'm gonna go with Brick Break. Wild Charge would have been better, but we're up 2 shields, and so I was kind of hoping to burn something at least at this point. And so I could have farmed down that Lanoon, but I really did not want to risk it because then I'd be down 0 shields to 2 if he got off the move. And so at that point in time, not the best just because he has switch priority. So I'm going to go in with the Bibarel just because it resists the Shadow Claw damage because of its normal typing. And try to figure out what comes out next. It's Alolan Ninetales. Kind of nervous at this point because he might have a Nidoqueen in the back, and I have a Alolan Ninetales myself, and so I'm just going to do whatever I can at this point to farm down this Alolan Ninetales. Because I'm thinking if I have Psy Shock, and I take down the Nidoqueen's shield, at least I'll have a slight chance. But it turns out to be Bibarel, so it's kind of like a almost exact mirror in the back end, but just slightly flipped around. And so right here, I am going to shield just because of the Hyper Fang. I'm done. If it's not a Hyper Fang, it'll still be close. I'm going to go straight for the Surf just because I know that he's probably pretty close to Surf himself. And he actually was, if you look at his video, he's very close. If anything, it was actually pretty much ready, but it just didn't go off. So very close match right there against Call Me Jake in round number 7. And then going into final round, round number 8, I'm going against PL232. I believe he is a DC player, or maybe even Virginia player. But anyway, definitely a good player at this point because he is also 5-2 at this moment. So we're both playing for 6-2 or 5-3, depending on how it goes. So going in with Alolan Ninetales, Bibarel, and Umbreon, pretty standard setup right there. And like I said before, I don't have a great matchup against Skuntank in my lineup, but you know, I'm going to do what I can at this moment in time. So he also decides not to shield, and I was able to pretty much water gun down the Skuntank. And luckily, I was able to actually get to a Surf. And he doesn't decide to shield, which is good on his end. And then right here, pretty solid matchup just because I have Umbreon against his Bibarel. And so that's going to definitely be a good matchup for me. And I still have a shield as well, and so these Dark Pulse are going to do quite a bit of damage. One reason why I like Dark Pulse a lot more than Foul Play. Still not enough to take out the Bibarel, but I know that probably a few Snarls should be enough. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So great first game, and then now I'm going in with Alolan Sandslash against with Bibarel and Umbreon in the back, so bad matchup for him. So he switches straight away to Skuntank, and I'm in a pretty good spot right here. And you'll see some mistakes that I make. One, I probably should not shield this just because I know that I could probably tank the Crunch. I definitely could tank the Crunch. And I thought about farming a little bit, but then I was just worried that he would get to another Crunch. Probably could have, though, just because the Crunch wouldn't have done enough damage. And so here's my mistake. I know that he has a Alolan Ninetales and he has a Bibarel. What I should have done is switch straight away to a counter for Bibarel. But instead, well, I had my own Bibarel in the back, but instead I decided to go straight in with pretty much just leave my Alolan Sandslash in there, right? And now I don't really have a true counter to his Alolan Ninetales. And he's up by 2 shields, which is not good because he knows this now because 2 shield, Ninetales, well, 1 against Umbreon, he doesn't need to really shield anything at all. He does decide to shield, so I have a slight chance, but he was able to get an extra charm off of me, and at this point in time, you'll see that my Bibarel's already below half health, even though I just got to the Surf. Or actually wasn't even fully at the Surf yet. So because of that, because I came in on a charm, my Bibarel actually can't win the 1-shield matchup anymore. So I had a slight chance because he shielded the last resort, but that was kind of my bad in general, just because I should have swapped out the Alolan Sandslash and saved it for the Alolan Ninetales. All right, so going into the last matchup, I'm going in Umbreon, Bibarel, and Alolan Ninetales. Kind of the standard setup for the most part that you've seen. So we're just gonna go back and forth on last resorts. I was trying to QSA, but it's hard when someone's pulling the trigger right away on the last resort. So he's going to go in right away with another last resort. So we're kind of out of sync in terms of last resorts. I feel okay for the most part because I do have Ninetales in the back. It just depends on what he's running. Hopefully not a Skun Tank, just because I know that's not going to be great. So right here, that Dark Pulse is going to, I thought was going to be enough to finish off, but not quite. But he does use a Foul Play, so Foul Play doesn't do as much damage as Dark Pulse, so I was able to win that head-to-head at least with that matchup. He goes in with Bibroll. I believe I go in with Alolan Ninetales at this point because I am worried that he has an Anti-Charmer in the back. And so now that his Umbreon's out, is it worth it? And so right here, so he does actually have Skuntank. Should I shield this? I was hoping to get to... oh, yeah, so I actually fainted out right before that happened. And he's also up a shield. So not a great situation for me at this point. I also choose not to shield this Crunch. I really didn't know what to do at this point because he's up 2 shields to 0. And so even if I shield it, this head-to-head would not have been good. So great matchup by PL232 to finish off 6-2 in the tournament. I end up 5-3 on the day. Definitely still happy with it just because there's a lot of tough competition, as you can see from some of the players I played, and a lot of great players that didn't even get a chance to play. It was a great experience, and Fly Eagles actually won the whole tournament 8-0. If you watch any of the streams from that day, you'll see that he did really, really well. And so definitely a well-deserved victory. Hopefully you enjoyed that content. Like I said, I'll be back making more content on a more frequent basis. I apologize for my sabbatical, but I am back. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see further content, and I'll see you all next time.